so we are presented today with temptation. Jesus is led into the wilderness by the Spirit. The next 40 days are spent fasting, which was understood to be a means of opening oneself to receive God's guidance. We fight our greatest battles when we're alone. Being alone, we are forced to focus on ourselves, our needs, our desires, and all that we are made of. Jesus went to the wilderness following his baptism, at which it was confirmed that he had a purpose in God's plan. It was alone in the wilderness that Jesus reflected upon and clarified the meaning of his life. So I wonder what it was that provided this famished, exhausted human, Jesus, the strength to say no in the face of temptation. Jesus was ready, even in that famished state, knowing who he was and what he was to accomplish when that temptation came his way. Obviously, Jesus would need to be fed to survive. It's not a question of whether he should be fed, more of what manner he would choose to be fed. Moral choices. We are all faced with them throughout our lives. We know when we're faced with them, and sometimes we struggle with our humanity and imperfection to make the right choice. To quote Frederick Buechner's words from the Bible's central plot, I think it is possible to say that in spite of all its extraordinary variety, the Bible is held together by having one single plot. It's the one that can be simply stated. God creates the world gets lost. God seeks to restore the world to the glory for which God created it. So if we're talking temptation in today's lesson, maybe it's time to bring up that word sin. What is sin? I read for a book study, The Heart of Christianity, Rediscovering a Life of Faith by Marcus. He asked this very question, what is sin? Most people would say disobedience or being bad or possibly breaking the rules. We learn about rules very early in life. We have to have them to live together. The history of Christian thought on sin is filled with wisdom. We can consider all the formulations Christian scholars have come up with as right and wise, capturing some dynamic at work in who we are. Bohr brings another light to sin. Bohr believes, without excusing or downplaying sin, that the concepts we have previously known as sin bring about more pain for some, when the reality is that there is just something wrong, something not right, something not necessarily for God to forgive, but for us, with God's help, to fix. He says, if to say we are all sinners is saying something is not right, we are all lost. That he would agree with the word sin being used in those terms. Bohr uses a very good example about a day when he preached a sermon about having a closed heart. He heard one of the pastors after the sermon pray, "We ask you, Lord, please forgive us for having a closed heart." Bohr is concerned with the thought that we, who are blind, in exile, closed-hearted, hungry and thirsty, and are lost, consider forgiveness to our lostness to be the answer. When indeed, the answer is not that we be forgiven, but that with closed hearts, pray to have an open heart. sin and forgiveness due to those who have no control over their situation. I wonder about the victims of domestic violence. I wonder about persons who are condemned for where they were born or who they love. I wonder about what goes through their minds as they hear the traditional sin and then forgiveness message. Might they think that they are somehow at fault for what is wrong in their world? So Borg says, for them the message they need to hear is not that they have sinned, for of course they have not. It is not that they need forgiveness, but it is not God's will that they live under abusive, oppressive, or discriminating circumstances. What God wills is their liberation and their safety. It seems to me that we begin to feel guilt so very early in life. As soon as we know the rules, we feel guilt. How many times have we heard someone say, "Oh, that's a bad child"? We instill guilt. Not that some introspection into what we may be doing wrong isn't good, but it clouds the fact that human suffering is not due to one person's sin, but due to collective sin. Jesus didn't die for our individual sins. We did not cause Jesus to die. Jesus was killed due to the domination system of his day. That was obviously a social and collective sin. We do not suffer through childbirth because of Adam and Eve's eating of the apple, no matter what anybody touched. God does not wish us to feel guilt for being the human beings of whom we are, but to grow through the pain and suffering involved as we become the human beings we are meant to be. And we can't do that alone. We weren't meant to. And that is why we have community. That is why we have each other. And that is why we have a God who wants for us to gather the strength to see us through our pain, suffering, and loss. Jesus, human like us, had the strength to resist great temptation, pain, and suffering. No, look around us. We know that something is wrong. As Paul tells us, sin and death have become realities in our world. Watch the television, read the news. Reflect on how we may have treated another person. Observe the long lines at the food bank. Look for those who are marginalized and consider what their life is like. Consider the way in which we observe, react, and respond to what is wrong with us individually and collectively. We have been led into the wilderness by the Spirit. We will never feel what it was like to be Jesus on those days that he was alone. But God will bring us through our wilderness, our pain and suffering, and in God, we will find the strength to bring what is wrong into